Good evening. The following is a live broadcast for the City of Kingsport Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Board meetings are regularly scheduled on the first and third Tuesdays of each month at 7 p.m. In advance of the BMA meeting, a copy of the agenda is available for inspection at the Kingsport Public Library, City Hall, or online at kingsporttn.gov.
Good evening. Welcome to the Kingsport Board of Mayor and Alderman business meeting. I'll remind our citizens this is where we actually vote on items. The first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, followed by the invocation. Please stand for both. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was our chief planner, Mr. Williams, that led us in the pledge, Army veteran, and this is Reverend Jeff Wadley. Thank you.
Thanks for having me here. Let's pray. What a wonderful city in which we live in here, Lord. It's beautiful, and we just love being a part of what's going on in this community. It's my prayer that tonight, as our leaders consider the business of our community, that there's one thing that we pray for, and that is wisdom. And we pray for the wisdom, Lord, that it takes to operate and run this community every day, but especially tonight as we have these particular items which need to be taken care of. So, Lord, we ask that you would grant wisdom in this place. And it's in your name that we give thanks for this wonderful community of Kingsport in which we live. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. I think you hit the right tone. Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Mayor Schul.
Here.
Vice Mayor George.
Here.
Alderman Cooper.
Here.
Alderman Duncan.
Here.
Alderman Montgomery. Alderman Alterman.
Present.
Alderman Phillips.
Here. Thank you. All 7 elected members are present, as well as the city manager and appropriate staff. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we have no recognitions or presentations on the agenda tonight, so we'll move into appointments. You have one appointment, and that is to appoint Commissioner Archie Pierce to the Bays Mountain Park Commission as the Sullivan County Commissioner Representative, and we'd ask that you approve this appointment, please.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman. Is there any discussion?
No, I think Archie will be a wonderful addition to that board. He's really a great commissioner, lives in Kingsport, and will do a good job.
In his district. Yes, ma'am. Any other comment? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. The next item, maybe I need to make a few explanatory.
Approve the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get into that next. We need to approve both minutes from the work session and the business meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve both items? Moved by Alderman Phillips, seconded by Alderman Duncan. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The 2 minutes pass 7-0.
Let me present it.
Would you like to? Okay, go ahead, Mr. City Manager.
All right, we have 2 public hearings on the agenda tonight. The first one is a public hearing in consideration of a resolution to annex and adopt a plan of services for the Ship Springs annexation, and then a consideration of an ordinance to amend the zoning. Ken Weems is our planning manager, and Ken will walk us through this public hearing. Ken?
Thank you so much, Chris. This is the Ship Springs annexation. I'd like to go ahead and start off by orienting everyone to the vicinity map here on the screen. You can see the site there on the map. Typically, the best way that you would actually get there would be to follow Bloomingdale Pike off of West Stone Drive, ultimately taking a left turn on Ship Springs Road, and you can see where the site is up there up Ship Springs Road. This is an owner-requested annexation of approximately 71 acres for the purpose of future residential use. The proposed zone for the site is the R3 zone, the low-density multifamily district. You can see the same R3 district is just to the south and to the west of this site, as well as a couple of our PD plan development pockets of zones as well for the Stone Edge and Cobblestone developments. The aerial photo that you see here on the screen represents the property as it is today. There's been no change from when that photo was taken. The plan of services for the annexation, it's a standard plan of services. The property is already served with water and sewer service, and we're not taking any streets. So it's basically no cost to annex this property here, just due to being in such close proximity to existing city limits. During their February meeting, the Planning Commission did vote to send a positive recommendation for the annexation, zoning, and plan of services to the board. The public hearing notice was published on February 20th, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you. Fellow members, does anyone have a question or comment for Mr. Weems?
You said that we're not taking any road in. Is Ship Spring, any of that in the city, or is that a county road?
No, it's every portion of that that's in front of the annexation site is in the county.
Okay. Will we be doing any kind of road improvements or asking the county for any road improvements?
We will be looking at some road improvements at previous locations from Bloomingdale to the Gibson Mill intersection, in that general area. Primary spot improvements, intersection improvements primarily.
And what we are voting on tonight, the only thing we're voting on is whether to annex this property or not to annex this property?
That's correct, ma'am. That's the only thing being considered for this item.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members wish to speak? Okay, maybe now I get into these explanatory remarks I want to make because I see citizens that might wish to speak to the board. We have two public hearings on unrelated subjects, and when I declare a public hearing open, then citizens can come forward to the podium, they can speak to the board. Then followed by, after the public hearing, we have a comment section in which citizens can speak on any other items that are on the agenda. When that's over and we go through the agenda, we come toward the end of our proceedings in which there's a general comment section in which citizens can come forward to speak about anything of general civic interest. Now, you know, as much as I love UT basketball and all that, that's not what we talk about, but it is general civic interest, and the board welcomes your remarks. So at this point, I declare the public hearing to be open only on the matter to consider annexation of the Ship Springs area that Mr. Williams just described. Are there any citizens who wish to come forward? Ma'am, if you wish to come forward, come to the podium, sign and state your name and address for the record.
Do we sign first?
Yeah, so go ahead and sign in. When y'all sign in, it allows us to get in contact with you later on if maybe you raised a question that we weren't aware of or something like that.
I didn't put Kingsport.
Well, would you give us your name and address?
Yes, sir, I sure will. I'm going to get my little note out here. My name is Mary Frances McCrary, and I have lived at 831 Cobblestone Place for 23 years. I love that place. It's a great place to live. It's very quiet and everything. I'm here to ask you to reconsider the proposal to pave the road behind Cobblestone that connects to Woodmont and is going into this new development right now. I know the development's already been going. I'm just asking if you would take into consideration the houses that are below that road, that the water, when the water comes down. It's a proposal to pave the road behind my house. And it's supposed to be used for an emergency exit. I don't know that it's going to be used that way, but that's what they told us. We spent a lot of money on our condos to try to get that water from not going down into our condos in the back right there. We spent a lot of money back there to get that done. And what I'm afraid is when the road behind my house is paved, all the water that's been soaked into all the ground that comes down to my house. Here, I've got some pictures to show you. I'd like for you to see. May I approach?
You can give them to Ken, and then Ken can hand them out to us.
If you can see the water, the grass that is eroded as the water runs down the bank back through there, and my house is right behind that road right there. So that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid if this is paved back there, that my house is going to get flooded. Do you remember the time that big storm came through Kingsport and flooded all of Kingsport downtown? It was flooded everywhere. Well, my house in the back at that point in time got water coming into my back door. Now, that doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen. It didn't happen downtown very often. But it does happen. And in the 23 years that I've lived there, there have been two times that this water has come down there that's almost flooded in the back of my house. And I'm just afraid that when this is done, all this runoff is going to do the same thing. And I wanted to present those pictures for you, and I wanted to present my opinion and my concern about what's going to happen there. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other folks who would like to come forward and speak to the board?
My name is Luella Blair, and I live at 822 Cobblestone Place.
Thank you.
When this land is annexed, they are proposing to bring a right-of-way for emergency vehicles only through our property. But my concern is, I have looked at everything I can find in Bluntful, and I can't find any documentation that says that that's a road. My understanding is that it was a right-of-way for electrical and water maintenance on that road. And now they're proposing that road for emergency vehicles. But they haven't said, they said that the contractor wanted that road. Well, there's three or four other entrances to that location. My concern is, where are the big trucks during construction going to be coming from? Also, they say that the emergency vehicles are going to be coming up Woodmont. Well, there's two curves right at the edge of Woodmont, and the road is not very wide or wide enough because people park on the side of the street there. And so that means that they'll be coming up Teasel Drive through Cobblestone Place, the street of Cobblestone Place, which is a private road. We, as residents of, responsible for the upkeep of it. And you're going to have big trucks running through there doing the construction of that building. And again, I haven't seen any documentation to denote that that's a road. Somewhere it has to be written, other than just on a map, you know, somewhere somebody had to say, you know, we want this as a road, and somebody had to agree to it. I'd like to see that documentation.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens that wish to come forward? Yes, sir, Mr. Petzold.
Hello, I'm Jerry Fessel with TCI Group. I'm here representing the landowners of this property. It's the Gross-Close heirs of the late Clyde Gross-Close. This property has been in their family for well over 100 years. They authorized me to offer the petition for the annexation. They want you to know they're very much in favor of that. They're very pleased to see what is being proposed for the development and what it will do for the city of Kingsport. And we ask that you approve the annexation as requested. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens that wish to come forward to speak on this matter and this matter only? If not, I declare the public hearing to be closed, and Mr. Attorney, please publish the item.
Corporate boundaries of the city of Kingsport, embracing that certain part of the 11th Civil District of Sullivan County, Tennessee, and known as the Ship Springs annexation as hereinafter described, to incorporate the same within the corporate boundaries of the city of Kingsport and to fix the effective date of this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman. Any discussion?
Do we have any answers, I know there was a discussion yesterday, a work session about the access road that I think that people are concerned about.
I think the two questions that came up during the conversation is the construction, three questions really. The construction for this development, which I'm assuming, Ken, would be off of Ship Springs, would be the construction entrance that we would have for this development. The emergency access, Ken, please again clarify, that is only if access through the primary access points is inaccessible due to a wreck, a fallen tree, multiple emergencies that would force us to have to come through this. And then the last thing, if you could address the public right-of-way.
And 1 second, and what we're complying with is state law. It says we have to have more than one way to end.
Correct.
And so, the right-of-way in question, it's, that's really the biggest blow-up I've got of it, and you can, well, let's see here. Okay, so it's right in here. It doesn't really show up too well because I have the city limits turned on, but it's this little stretch right here of right-of-way.
Big man.
Right, yeah, on that expanded view right there. So, like we covered during the planning commission meeting, and what's shown on their construction plans for the development is a gate right here on their property where that right-of-way touches the annexation site, along with appropriate signage, which states for emergency vehicles only. It'll also be equipped with a lockbox that only the Kingsport Fire Department has. So they will be the only ones that can unlock this gate and then move their vehicles through it. And in addition to that, there's also proposed, right in here, another sign there that just states simply for emergency vehicles only. Another, just another official sign stating that. So.
The access road will be paved.
Yes, ma'am, it's proposed to be a 15-foot wide swath of asphalt.
And right now, there's evidently a road there, but it's not paved, is that right?
It's really kind of a gravel drive is probably the best way to describe it as it sits today.
This same type of access was put between Cook's Crossing and Autumn Woods.
Yes, ma'am.
But there's no gate on that one. That is just
Right.
That it clarifies as the second entrance.
They used a different type of material to put a barrier in between the two, between the street stub out in Cook's Crossing and the cul-de-sac in Autumn Woods, but there is no gate there. It's just it's a different type of material that the trucks can mount, and it doesn't give the appearance that it's connected, but it actually is, and that's for our fire department purposes if they have to get into the back of Cook's Crossing or Autumn Woods, either way.
Has that ever been used?
I don't think it has been. I really don't. I kept on threatening to go out and use it after we put it in, knowing that it was right away that connected. But we could probably verify with the police chief, but I don't think it ever has been. Yeah.
And again, I think the other question was asked, and this is more of a statement than a question to you, but all plans that are submitted to the city of Kingsport for development go through a stormwater review. So we will evaluate the runoff that would occur on the site and everything with the road.
And that's a very big deal, storm runoff, and the water cannot come off of there any faster than it does now, and our inspectors, stay on top of it because it is such a an important item to make sure it's covered during all phases of construction and beyond, so,
That's a great point.
yeah.
The board, do y'all have any other questions? Go ahead.
Comment about the construction, it won't come up Teasel Drive then?
Ship Springs.
It will enter from the Ship Springs, not up Teasel and up
Yeah, the
across.
Ship Springs would be an appropriate construction entrance, yes.
Well, for our citizens who may not be aware of how we do business, before we have these meetings, we have a one-on-one session. Each member of the Board of Mayor and Alderman meets individually with the city manager to go over all the items to make sure we understand, and he often has other staff members in there if needed to further explain. Then yesterday, we had a work session, and that's our normal practice, which allows us to, again, look at these things in more detail and ask questions and so forth. So by the time we get to this meeting, we're pretty familiar, but I appreciate the questions that were raised by the citizens. Are there any other comments or concerns? Yes, sir.
I appreciated the questions too. I mean, that's legitimate questions from each of you too. And I would be concerned with water as well, but I feel like we've got a plan to kind of go forward with.
I would add too, Ken probably said this at planning commission, or Sam did one, but 99 out of 100 times, the developers are great to work with. And so it's good to have an open line of communication between the neighboring subdivision and the developers, because they're usually, if they're usually pretty good about minor changes or things like that if it helps. And so I would just encourage anybody that has concerns to just keep an open line of communication with the developers, because I mean, since I've been on planning commission, and Colette was on there for a long time too, most developers we've ever met with are very good to come out and meet with the neighboring neighborhoods and just, you know, talk with them and see what they can do to be good neighbors and be good stewards going forward. And these people have been to one planning meeting that I was at, the developers, and they were very courteous and very open-minded about what they could do to do positive things. So I feel like that will be the case here too.
Thank you. See problems with construction vehicles, do it immediately. Contact somebody with the city or the developer, and we'll get that.
Or come back to the board meeting. I
Yeah,
said,
absolutely.
anytime we have a meeting, it's open for any comments. So, we can say in good faith that we think that what we're hearing is, that the runoff will be taken care of, and that the construction vehicles won't go up Teasel Drive and cut through, and what was the other one? I can't remember. Third one? Chips, yeah. So, and we have to, I trust these men that are telling us this. So, but if you all that are there see something else, show up at another board meeting, and then we can figure out how we can.
Disruption to your neighborhood is not what we're after. If that happens, we need to know. I'm sorry, what did you say? Disruption to your neighborhood is not, I mean, that's not what we want either.
Well, the item is on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to amend zoning of tax map 46-0, Group D, parcels 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 25.05 and 26 along Oak Street, East Center Street, and Myrtle Street from the R2 two-family residential, B3 highway-oriented business, and R1B residential districts to the R4 medium-density apartment district. Ken Weems, our planning manager, will walk us through the public hearing.
Thanks so much, Chris. This sign, as you can see it here, it's actually fronts three different streets. It's Oak Street, East Center Street, and Myrtle Streets is where the vicinity of this rezoning is. This is a property owner requested rezoning of just under 7/10 of an acre. Like Chris said, from the R2 two-family district right there in the brown, the red B3 highway-oriented business district in the red, and the R1B single-family residential district in the yellow. The proposed zone for this site is the R4 medium-density apartment district zone. taking a look at the site plan, that's a requirement for any type of rezoning. You can see what the proposal is for the site here with the entrance off of Oak Street. The idea is to build these 4 buildings, a total of 12 units that'll be focused on housing the elderly and the disabled. During their February meeting, the Planning Commission did vote to send a positive recommendation to the board in support of the rezoning to approve it. The public hearing notice was published on February 20th, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you. Board, before I declare a public hearing open, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Weems?
Ken, you said there are 4 buildings, my understanding, it looks like just 3 buildings.
Did I say 4? I meant to say 3. How about 3 4-unit buildings?
Okay, there you go.
I was counting, and that's just doesn't say that.
Yeah, a total of 12 units.
And the only entrance on this will be from Oak Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Cunningham is here also, the board, if you have any other further questions, comments. If not, I declare the public hearing to be open. Any citizens that wish to come forward and address the board on this matter, please do. If there's no one that wishes to comment from the public, then the public hearing is over. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
In order to further amend the zoning code text and map to rezone property located along Oak Street, East Center Street, and Myrtle Street from the R2, B3, and R1B districts to the R4 district in the 11th Civil District of Sullivan County, to fix a penalty for a violation of this ordinance and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Phillips. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Alderman. Any discussion? Well, I've been over this with Mr. Cunningham, and I believe this is a good action. And any other further discussion?
Seniors, it's going to be seniors over 63.
Yeah, it is focused on the elderly and disabled. Yeah, I think the focus on the elderly is the primary use. Yeah.
62? Okay. So, it said, I know these are very needed, and
Yeah, good point. Anything else, board? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. We've now reached the point in our proceedings where we have a public comment on agenda items. Any of the remaining agenda items, citizens may come forward to the podium. Please state your name and address and sign the register that is provided. You're encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. A total of 30 minutes is allocated for public comment during this part of the agenda. Are there any citizens that wish to come forward to discuss any items that remain on the agenda? If not, we'll move forward. Mr. City Manager.
First item is consideration of a budget adjustment ordinance for various funds in fiscal '23. This primarily has to do with the general fund budget for the city of Kingsport. Traditionally, we will take 6 months of revenue, which we typically see around mid-February. We'll evaluate that. If necessary, bring that forward to the board to make an adjustment. What you see here tonight is an adjustment to our sales tax primarily, but also all revenues in general. We're looking at not only adjustments to the general fund, regional sales tax fund, making adjustments to state street aid, and then visitor enhancement fund, which is the portion of the hotel motel tax that the city of Kingsport is able to retain for projects that typically are geared towards tourism. This is a total adjustment of $1.5 million. The bulk of this will go towards addressing either adjustments that we needed to make in the actual budget itself from an operating standpoint, but predominantly towards one-time capital needs. And that's what this allows us to be able to do kind of moving forward. In addition to that, I will say, as we kind of look back on the first half of the fiscal year, largely our confidence in being able to do this is tied back to the month of December. Sales tax collections represented the largest that we've received in the city of Kingsport's history. And it's tied to a lot of things. Obviously, we appreciate those who spend their dollars locally. Industry is tied to a lot of that, and we continue to see impacts from online sales. So pleased to be able to bring this forward to you. I know as we have our strategic planning session coming up in a couple of weeks, we'll dive a little bit more into the revenues and what the budget looks like for the remainder of this year. But at this point, to be able to bring something to you, we feel pretty good about how we're progressing through this year. So be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. You brought something to our attention about 2 weeks ago. As you know, around approximately 2,600 of our citizens live on the Hawkins County side of our city. And you mentioned that, was it 50% of our sales tax revenue generated on that side was through online sales?
Yeah, so we've just really now started to kind of manipulate the data that we get from the state to be able to look at what is bought online versus what is bought in the brick and mortar. And we took the Hawkins County portion because it's a lot smaller area of the city. It's a little bit easier to evaluate. But yeah, roughly 50% of the sales tax we see there has been generated from online sales. And so that was surprised us, to say the least. We're doing further analysis on citywide. But, you know, it's just a sign of how our economy is ever changing.
Right, right. You know, citizens ask all the time why we don't have this store or that store or whatever. Well, you know, if they don't need to move, I'm sort of speaking philosophically, but they don't need to move here if we're buying things online. Now, the good part about buying things online, if I live in Kingsport, which I do, and I order something to come to my address, we collect the sales tax. The bad thing about it is it didn't help any of our brick and mortar stores, which people still like to go to brick and mortar stores, and these are our neighbors, our fellow citizens.
But on the flip side of that, if there were more brick and mortar stores, like if we had, the mall was full of stores,
Right.
then there probably would be less online spending,
Yeah.
and more brick and mortar, yes.
Yeah.
So,
And we'd get the sales tax revenue.
Anyway.
And plus it would help people live here.
in Hawkins County, there's a limited number of brick and mortar stores they can actually shop at
Yeah.
without traveling. So
Right.
that's why this online sales would be up higher there.
Yeah, I think it's really just how we purchase goods now has forever changed, you know, and just the fact that we see grocery orders that are ordered online and delivered to the house. So it's ever changing, and what people had historically bought in a big box store, they have the ability to buy online now. And I remember probably 7 or 8 years ago in a conversation with Jeff Fleming having, you know, this very conversation about where are we going and what are we doing, and quite honestly did not think we would get to this high percentage of online sales, but the pandemic really put all that into overdrive, and we just started to see more and more of it. And we're also very fortunate that state law was changed a few years ago to allow us to be able to capture that, because those are significant dollars that then get put back into the infrastructure of the city, whether it's schools, operations, parks, whatever it may be.
Right, right. That's good conversation. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend various fund budgets for the year ending June 30th, 2023, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Duncan, seconded by the Vice Mayor. To our citizens, ordinance is the first reading. We do a voice vote. Second reading, we have to do a roll call vote. Any further discussion, comment? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Okay, we have several items that are up for second and final reading. The first is the consideration of an ordinance to amend the fiscal 23 school special projects fund budget. We'd ask that you approve this ordinance on second and final reading, please.
Thank you. And at our previous work session, not yesterday's, the one before that, Mr. Fry from the school system came and explained several of these, and I appreciate him doing that. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend the general purpose school fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Cooper. Any discussion? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper. Alderman Duncan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor George.
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery.
Aye.
Alderman Alterman.
Aye.
Alderman Phillips.
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
All right, it passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is consideration of an ordinance to amend the fiscal 2023 general purpose school fund budget. This is on second and final reading.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance to amend various fund budgets for the year ending June 30th, 2023, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Usually you keep me straight. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Phillips. Any discussion? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper.
Aye.
Alderman Duncan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor George.
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery.
Aye.
Alderman Alderman.
Aye.
Alderman Phillips.
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, the item passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a budget adjustment ordinance to add 2 full-time positions to the general fund in fiscal '23. We'd ask that you approve this on second and final reading, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend the general fund budget by adding 2 full-time maintenance worker positions for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Phillips, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper.
Aye.
Alderman Duncan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor George.
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery.
Aye.
Alderman Alderman.
Aye.
Alderman Phillips.
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, the item passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a budget adjustment ordinance for various funds in fiscal '23. We ask that you approve this on second and final reading, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
To amend various fund budgets for the year ending June 30th, 2023, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Cooper. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Montgomery. Any discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper.
Aye.
Alderman Duncan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor George.
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery.
Aye.
Alderman Alderman.
Aye.
Alderman Phillips.
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, the item passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next is consideration of a resolution to purchase 11 Ford Police Interceptors from the Tennessee State contract. These are 11 replacement vehicles. As we've stated before, we're moving away from the sedan and more towards the SUV. It's kind of become an industry standard, but also just the realization that the amount of gear that we're asking our officers to carry, the SUV is more suited to be able to accommodate that. Again, these are replacement vehicles, and appreciate the work that's been done to get us to this point. We hope to have them here sometime this fall, and ask that you approve the resolution, please.
And if we approve, you and the chief are going to let us drive it with the blue lights on?
Probably not.
That's what he does.
Mr. President did a good job of
Yeah.
all this to me, and believe me, it took some time for him to explain it to.
Okay. Well, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
Resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase order to Lonnie Cobb Ford utilizing Tennessee State Contract Number 75347 for 11 Ford Police Interceptors for the Kingsport Police Department.
Thank you. No, you don't want to pass him up on the highway. Would you like to move this item?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Okay. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Cooper. Okay. Any further discussion? The city manager said we can't drive them, so.
There's 4 unmarked ones on there, so you speeders be paying attention.
Yeah.
Are these replacement?
Yes.
Yes. Well, you already did that. You already voted on that. Any further discussion on the purchase of the police cars? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0, and these are much needed. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution to approve Amendment 3 to the Riverbend Park redevelopment agreement with KHRA for the development of Riverbend Park. As we stated last night, we're asking that this be moved from February 28th, 2023 to July 31st of 2023. This will just simply ensure that we are in agreement, or we are in line, if you will, with the agreement that we have with the Housing Authority for the use of these TIF dollars. We anticipate by the end of July, the project will be completed. Appreciate the fact that the Housing Authority has worked with us. And as we've stated in the past, construction during this time, even though things have gotten somewhat better, it is still somewhat challenging with supply and demand, labor issues, various other things, but allow us to move the project forward to completion.
When you say completion, you mean phase one
Phase
completion?
one of the project, yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution approving Amendment 3 to the redevelopment agreement with the Kingsport Housing and Redevelopment Authority to extend the date of completion of the Riverbend Redevelopment District Park, authorizing the mayor to execute the amendment and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the amendment.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Alderman. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is consideration of a resolution to donate Bays Mountain Park exhibits to the Bays Mountain Park Association. Earlier in this fiscal year, you approved another resolution similar to this, where items were moved over to the association to be sold or gifted to other agencies. This is all part of the work that we're continuing to do to upgrade the exhibits within the Nature Center. And so we'd ask that you approve this resolution, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution waiving the requirements for the disposal of surplus personal property pursuant to Kingsport Code of Ordinances, Section 2-571, authorizing the sale of outdated exhibit items and authorizing the mayor to sign a sale agreement and all documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Alderman. Any discussion?
Mayor, you might have some interest in this world's most dangerous animal.
I know. I mean, it's been there since I was in elementary school. I hate to see that go. Sad.
Yeah, the great big praying mantis.
They started the park the year I finished high school. Second by Alderman Alderman. Any discussion? Okay, any further productive discussion?
Do they sell it? What happens to it?
It's typically, it's sold, I think. Michael, I'm asking you, have we sold any of these yet?
Yeah, the great big praying mantis.
They started the park the year I finished high school.
So you can bid it,
James? Any discussion? Okay, any further? Thank you. I put in a plug for the Bays Mountain Association, Park Association. They do a great job, and they often donate a considerable amount of money to the park, and they're just very enthusiastic supporters. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution to approve property damage release with Nationwide Property and Casualty Insurance. This is a result of a claim coming through Kingsport City Schools. Quote for repairs was $25,906.98. Nationwide, based upon the policy limit, is offering $25,000, as has been the case in the past. We choose to settle with this amount in order to move this along and get the repairs taken care of. So ask that you pass a resolution allowing us to move forward with this.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution approving a property damage release with Nationwide Property and Casualty Insurance Company and authorizing the mayor to execute the release and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Alderman. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Now move into the consent agenda. We have two items on the.
Ordinance for the zoning and a resolution.
Okay. Have those in front of me.
Yeah, if you go back to the action form, you can see it on the screen. You needed to vote separately on those two items. It's all part of what was presented, but it's just a requirement that when you approve the annexation, you're approving that on one reading. The second reading is for the amend the ordinance. And then you also, which is the first reading, second reading will be for that later in March, and then you have a resolution adopting the plan of services. So Bart, it's my understanding they need to approve the ordinance amending the zoning and then the resolution to adopt the plan of services? Yes, sir. Okay. So Mayor, if you would just ask for a motion on the ordinance and then vote on that, and then ask for a motion on the resolution.
Board, two separate votes. First, do I hear a motion? Please publish the ordinance, yeah.
In order to further amend the zoning code text and map to rezone property located along Ship Springs Road from the county R1 district to the city R3 district in the 11th Civil District of Sullivan County, to fix a penalty for the violation of this ordinance and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve? So moved. Moved by Alderman Alderman. Is there a second? Second by the Vice Mayor. Is there any discussion? Well, it was explained by the city manager. If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. And next item is the plan of services. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution adopting a plan of services for the Ship Springs annexation of the city of Kingsport, Tennessee.
Thank you. And Mr. Weems addressed that yesterday in the work session. So do I hear a motion to approve? Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Alderman. Is there any discussion on that item? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. City Manager, for getting us back on track.
Well, so we won't get all confused, what did we vote on earlier? What was that? Because we voted 3 different times on the annex, zone, and then plan of service. Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
the main vote was when we voted to annex it into the city.
But then we had to do the other two. Okay.
Then we have to choose which zoning it is, and and Ken had presented, but we had moved, we were all talking about it, and we'd moved on. And so that's what we're, now we're to consent.
Okay, we're on the consent agenda. Mr. City Manager, if you'd like to explain that.
All right, 2 items on the consent agenda. If you'd like any one of these pulled for additional discussion, please let me know. The first is consideration of a resolution ratifying the mayor's signature on the certification of local government approval for the 2023 Emergency Solutions Grant application. And the second is consideration of a resolution to apply for and accept funding through the THDA's Emergency Solution Grant. I will note both of these items deal directly with the work that either the city or our partners do in regards to homelessness within the city of Kingsport. And we appreciate those agencies, and we're hopeful these funds will come through to assist their endeavors. So,
Thank
Mayor,
you.
we'd ask that you approve these items unless there's additional discussion.
Right, well, these are good agencies that work on this issue. Are there any members that wish to address these separately? If not, do I hear a motion to approve as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented with both items.
Thank you. Vice Mayor moved the item. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Montgomery. Is there any discussion on these items? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper,
Aye to both.
Alderman Duncan,
Aye to both.
Vice Mayor George,
Aye to both.
Alderman Montgomery,
Aye to both.
Alderman Alterman,
Aye to both.
Alderman Phillips,
Aye to both.
Mayor Schul.
Aye to both items. Therefore, both items pass 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we move into the communications portion of the agenda. I want to just kind of build off of what was discussed last night, and then also at our work session, and then earlier this morning with the Economic Development Board. John Rose really presented 2 exciting projects for consideration, and earlier today, the Economic Development Board acted on that by granting the chairman, Craig Dennison of the Economic Development Board, the authority to sign a lease on the Dobbins-Taylor warehouse at such time that we move through the due diligence, which is scheduled for sometime around May. This is a pretty significant project in a lot of different ways. This was one of those that we eyed in terms of looking at doing something with about 3 years ago. Really excited the fact that Luther King got to work on this project. He presented it today, presented to the KDB board today on that, and really just some exciting history tied up with this building. And I think it really has an opportunity to be very successful for us in terms of our continued efforts to redevelop downtown. In addition to that, we talked about property that the Economic Development Board had, at your all's request, sold, which is on Main Street. You saw some renderings of that, which is a requirement they had in order to be able to move forward with construction. So it's exciting to see, as we are investing in Main Street, we're also seeing a return on that investment by the private sector beginning to invest in properties that we either not on the tax rolls or on the tax rolls but are getting remodeled, such as the former Pappy's building that sits there in the corner of
Main and Commerce?
Main and
Cherokee.
Cherokee.
Yeah.
You know, in addition to that, many of you all were at the Home Builder Show this weekend. You saw a lot of the plans for Brickyard, and of course, that's a very exciting project. We're glad to see that that is moving forward. As we move into the spring, we'll see a lot of activity on that. And then, of course, tonight, a lot of conversation, really a conversation for some time, and we're pleased to bring it to this point in terms of talking about Ship Springs and that development. And I think one of the things that we have said, and you all kind of tasked me with this about 3 years ago, was what do we need to do in terms of residential development? What do we need to do in terms of improving that, increasing that, meeting the demand that we know that is out there, providing as much diversity in that residential development as we possibly could. And I think the projects that we talked about last night, the projects you approved tonight, and other things that we have going on are a testament to the work that's been done by this board, by our partners with the Economic Development Board, by the city staff that has worked on this and continues to work on this to make that vision that we collectively had come to reality. So I say that because there's a lot of excitement. And if you're not excited about some of the things that we've talked about, check your pulse because it really is an exciting time for the city. A lot of things that we've talked about really almost every month, going back to when we unveiled the vision we had for the dental clinic and then the dental school and kind of moving forward. So I mentioned earlier 2023 was going to be a good year. It's really shaping up to be that in a lot of different ways. And I thank you all for making the hard decisions, putting the dollars where they need to be to make these things happen. It's paying off, and we're seeing those results. And again, very exciting, very appreciative. With that, roll Tribe.
Yeah, Tribe's going to the state. Well, we discussed last week briefly that there's so many projects that are on the horizon that we can't speak about because we would be violating the confidentiality of either a builder or developer or another type of business. But I think by Christmas, you'll probably have a lot of good announcements. Huh?
Hope so.
Yeah. Let's start with my friend and colleague Daryl and his nifty handkerchief there.
Well, I appreciate that, and so we're glad to have city manager back. He wasn't here at our last meeting, so we're glad to have
Not
him
that Ryan didn't do a fabulous job.
back. Not that Ryan didn't do good, but we're glad to have him.
He's going to driving school now, Daryl.
Oh, is he? So just to really, I kind of had in my notes here too, just kind of what the city manager said, and I really appreciated John Rowe's presentation yesterday. And so these projects that we looked at in locations yesterday is all high profile. We all know exactly where each one of those are at, and will be a great addition to our city if once we get those developed. So I really appreciated that. It's just it's all right in the core of our city within just a few blocks of each one of these. So potentially we hope that developers will jump on board and work on that. Mentioned the Tribe. I was thinking last night what a great asset that location is for the tax center. And so if we hadn't had that, we would have had to play all of our ball games away, I assume, or at least it wouldn't have been
play it
good or severe. And which wouldn't have been good. And so I won't steal Tommy's thunder on that by any means, but last night was really a good showing by the Tribe. Yeah. So really appreciate that and hope they do well as they go forward. That's it.
Thank you, Miss Betsy.
And I also want to say about the ball game last night. I've sat through a lot of high school ball games, but last night probably was the most exciting game I've ever sat through in my life. we're proud they play next Wednesday at the State, so that's, be sure to either listen or head down that way to watch them. And today I had the opportunity to drive around our downtown and pulled into the City Hall parking lot. It's beautiful. I mean, the trees are in bloom, and it's just gorgeous. And then I went home, and as I traveled around through downtown and looked at different things in downtown, I went home and was watching the news and listened to someplace out north that talked about the Walmarts are closing because of the crime. And I'm thinking how blessed we are to live where we do, and how, not just how beautiful everything looks, but just how safe you feel walking around the downtown. It sounds like in other places that they don't have that opportunity or that luxury to enjoy where they live like we do here. So just go out and enjoy the pretty spring weather, and hope that it continues, and that the trees that haven't bloomed too early, and then next week get ready to cheer the tribe on.
I'm impressed that you and James already got started on Christmas planning.
Oh, we do. Yes, we have. It's amazing. And then there's the Goat Festival coming up in downtown, the first annual Goat Festival. The T-shirts arrived today, so if you haven't seen the goats, there's one on at the chamber, and I think they all were sponsored within like 2 days. So
Are we bringing back the real goats, the Cement Hill? Okay.
it's amazing if you look at Cement Hill what they have done up there.
Yeah, what they accomplished.
That's one of the things I was looking at today. How much vegetation is gone. How you can really look and see cement. You see the hill.
Yeah. Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you. Okay, Paul.
Let me add my thanks to Chris getting back to work, and I'm sure you've had a good week, and we're just glad you're back with us. Also, extend congratulations to Coach Poore and the Tribe team for their accomplishments this year, and wish them well as they go to the state. Same thing for the wrestling team as they finish up, and the good showing they did last week is too. Thankful for city staff working on this policy for public building infrastructure. Hopefully we'll be able to enact something on this soon in a future meeting. And I look forward to hearing more about what's going to happen to Dominus Taylor. I'm excited about that project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. James there.
The Ship Springs people are here tonight, so I'll say the same thing I told the Edens people who were at the home show. First one to put a shovel in the ground gets a plaque, and I'll agree to operate a dozer. So it's a race. But in all seriousness, great meeting last night. Really enjoyed all that. But had a wonderful home show this weekend. The home builders put on a great show. Well attended. It's the only home show in the region, and it was just. Saturday was one of the busiest days we've had. I know since I've been there. Got here that Hope is having an open house on March 15th at 4 p.m. So that'll be good. They're in their new location, so it'll be good to see that. And then finally, we had a meeting last week that was a joint county and city meeting, and I thought that was a good meeting. Enjoyed just seeing our friends in the county and just having some open discussions with them, and I think that will lead to positive things, the more of those that we can have.
I thought Mr. City Manager and Mr. Rose did a good job showing things how we tie in together.
Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to that. I think they asked for feedback, and I just said, I'd like to hear from the county too, what they've got going on. But then I didn't have much, but lastly, it's gonna be 28 degrees tonight, so I don't know where spring went, but turn your heat on.
That's it. Thank you, Tommy.
I'd just like to say I put my 2 cents worth in rooting the Tribe on. Seems like every time I do, they win.
Okay.
So I'm their good luck charm.
To go all the way and win again, they got to win 4 games?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
I believe that's the right number, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the magic number.
Is it 3? Is it 3? Okay.
Well, they get one to grow on.
We get on a roll.
Yeah.
And it's almost baseball season.
It is. It is. Now, everybody buy their baseball tickets.
We're either 1 or 2 in the nation for number of wins in a high school team, baseball.
Yeah, well, I've already bought my ticket, or I've reserved it.
Yeah.
For the baseball. They got a luncheon this coming Saturday. Is that right, Dee? Saturday? Yeah,
Is that it?
that's it.
All right, thank
Good
you.
luck. Go get them, Tri.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
Want to mention that I think in February, Visit Kingsport had, at one of the swim meets we had at the Aquatic Center, we had over 600 swimmers. So they hosted, I think, 2 different swimming events, plus I think a volleyball event and some other events. And so they really had a lot of people in town visiting in February.
2,000 athletes, over 2,000.
Yeah, over 2,000 athletes. So a lot of things going on then. And what I want to mention, I'll have Brian come up, because our annual spring throw away everything you own on the street
Oh, that's a
week
great
is
time.
coming up. So this will
Good.
be, March 27th through 31st.
That's right.
The citizens of Kingsport, you guys can clean out everything and throw it on the street. So tell us what's all included and what you'll pick up.
That's right. So the annual cleanup, the 27th through 31st, great time to clean out the basements, do whatever. It really will help through the summer to keep the streets looking good, so we're not doing it all throughout the summer. For that week, extra garbage will be picked up, as well as the leaf truck will run. So if you weren't able to get your leaves out, it'll begin on the west side and work its way to the east side. The brush trucks will run their normal schedule, which is bi-weekly. So just move everything out to the curb. Of course, no hazardous waste, no paints or liquids, but most everything else is what we will pick up. The Brookside landfill the county side does take the paints, and then once a year at Central, and it's announced through the media, TDEC will do a hazardous waste collection for all of those type of things. But a great time to try and clean out your basements. Again, that week is extra garbage, and if you could put it a few feet away from your cart so we can still service the cart, and then we'll run and pick up the extra garbage in bags. Again, the construction debris or brush will run like it always does on a 2-week schedule.
This, like if people have old appliances.
Yep, appliances. I
Old
tell you, if you put an
appliances.
appliance out, once the mayor called me and said, I have a lawnmower. And this is before I knew him, asked him where he lived. He told me, I said, put it out the street, it'll be gone by the morning, and it was.
It was.
So appliances will be the same. There's a lot of value in those. But yeah, we will pick them up if they're there, and we do recycle those. It will be with the brush truck. So that's something we do every 2 weeks, no matter what. So the appliances are service that we'll pick up every other week anyway. But we do like an initiative to get everything out there so it keeps the streets clean the rest of the year.
And this is the last time for leaves until the fall, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So the 27th, the leaf
Will
truck
it be
will
like
run.
if on?
But not on the 27th.
I
They'll
mean,
start
that
on the
week,
27th and they'll service every
So
street
I need to get my leaves cleaned
before
up
they're
before the
finished.
27th.
Yeah. I can't say that it'll take them, they can get through with it in a week, but they'll work their way all the way across the city, service every street, starting on the 27th.
So the large trash items, I mean, like if I'm running out bookcases or real heavy things, do I have them out on the same day as my trash, or will they be picked up a separate day during that week?
So the large ones that you'd usually put out with the grabber trucks are always on the grabber truck day.
Okay.
So it depends. If you go to the kingsporttn.gov, it's pretty easy to find out which day is your grabber truck day. So a large bookcase, it'd be a furniture, a couch, a mattress, those would be picked up with the grabber trucks. So really, those are serviced every other week anyway. We're just trying to make a special effort to try and get everything flushed out this cleanup week. The special emphasis is really extra garbage. So you can actually put cardboard boxes. We're not able to pick those up with the grabber trucks. Anything that you would have that we would pick up with the garbage, you can put beside your carts a few feet off, and we'll run extra vehicles around to pick those up.
And Mr. City Manager, I'd like, when the county puts out about the hazardous waste, y'all just reinforce that message for our citizens? Sure. Because I get a lot of questions about that.
That's right. If you don't mind, I'll make a plug for Arbor Day. We've got the mayor lined up for proclamation. It's Thursday at Jackson. So
Noon?
noon.
Noon, yeah.
Partnership, Keep Kingsport Beautiful. And it's
Yeah.
always great to have the kids out there.
Plant some
And
trees.
every year it's beautiful, and then it gets to be very cold that day, so we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully it's not 28.
It rains, it snows.
Yeah.
There was only one really pretty day, and Daryl stood me up that day. The only good one he missed, and the
Well,
rest
we
of it.
stood out in the snow for 2 or 3 years
Years
before
ago.
that.
So is it
Or the
Jackson
rain.
School?
Jackson.
At 12 on the 9th.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
That's it for
Is
me.
that
I
it
just
for
wanted
you?
to make sure we get all the stuff thrown away.
Okay. Well, we had some fun talking about the police cars, but I'd like to make sure our citizens understand that the city has a really good program for replacing vehicles. They keep meticulous records on the vehicles, their wear and any times they've been in shop and that type of thing, and how much mileage and on and on. And they have a very systematic replacement program. And we purchase from the vendor that can best meet the city's needs at the lowest cost. So that's just standard way of doing business, and I appreciate they do it very well. The day Kingsport hosted the Tennessee Commissioner of Economic Development. Now, I went, did any of y'all go? I didn't see it. Okay, I went, and we need to get Heath Gwynn to maybe provide us some information on this. But it was a program called Fund Tennessee, and I'm going to try and summarize real quickly. But as part of the ARPA money that came down to the state, this money was directed through the Treasury Department, the U.S. Treasury Department, to create a program to help businesses, small business, entrepreneurs, a lot of disadvantaged individuals, be they women or minorities or veterans or whatever. But it involves over $100 million of ARPA money for Tennessee. And they're not grants, they're loans, but they're low-cost loans. And they're also, the state can help you if you're a small business person, we get business advice, maybe link up with an angel investor, this kind of things. And Heath would have all the program. In fact, Heath Sync Space is one of 9 different organizations that is formally tied in with Launch Tennessee. And I believe, if I understood it correctly, I have to check this with Heath, but some of this money would wash through Heath's organization, and his board would have some opportunity to help direct these loans certain ways. But we'll get some more information on Heath. I think it's something the board ought to be up to speed on. That's about all I've got. We've come to the part in the proceedings where citizens may come forward and speak on issue-oriented items. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address and sign the register that is provided. You're encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. Are there any citizens that wish to come forward? Yes, ma'am. This is on general civic interest, I hope.
Yes.
Right here, just sign in and your name and address, and then state to us the same for the record.
Okay, my name is Aubrey West. I live at 221 Union Street. I'm here to discuss the inadequacies of PetWorks animal control system. I have had 13 aggressive animal incidences within 1 block of my house in the last 7 months. The last incident we had any dealings with PetWorks, a known to be aggressive white pit bull came out. It attacked my dog. It bit him twice, but it bit him where his harness was and where these metal clasps were. So PetWorks associates came to my house, and they accused me of lying because there was no marks on my dog. I went throughout the neighborhood, and I managed to acquire a video where I am not on the video. I'm just outside of the video, but you can hear the audio of this dog attack, and you can hear me screaming for the owner to come and get this dog. I have here in my pad, goodness, of course it's not going to work because I'm a nervous wreck. There were initially 5 dogs involved. 2 of the pit bulls have moved away. So there is now 1 white pit bull left, and there are 2 wolf hybrids. And when I say these are wolf hybrids, these dogs stand this tall. They are far more wolf than they are dog. For the white pit bull at 314 Amber Street, Ruth Simcox was attacked by, animal control says that there are no other instances with this dog. This dog is not aggressive. It is not a problem. As a matter of fact, part of their coming to my house, they told me this was all my problem. They told me in front of some of the aggressors that I was making it up. They told me that if those dogs chased me down the street, that as long as the owners got to them before they did, that they would not do anything. And they continue to say there were no reports, there's been nothing on this dog. Okay, so at 314 Amber Street, Ruth Simcox was attacked by this dog. She's an elderly lady, she's 90 years old, she was knocked to the ground, she was bitten in the leg, she had to have stitches in her leg, and her medical bills were never paid. There's a police report of that incident that Animal Control says never existed. At 313 Amber Street, Margaret Tyler, who was in her 80s, was also knocked to the ground. She required stitches in both legs and a shoulder replacement. Her medical bills were never paid. There is a police report of that incident. The animal at that time was taken for a 10-day quarantine. Brittany and Landon Steffi at 305 Amber Street filed a police report because they were chased into their house by this white pit bull. At 1932 Greenway Street, Miss South was knocked to the ground and she received injuries in her foot. I spoke to 8 different individuals who expressed concerns about this dog that Animal Control was saying is not an issue. As to the wolf dogs, we've had multiple instances with these wolf dogs. We have been knocked to the ground, we've been encircled, we've been chased back to the house, we have been growled at, we have been lunged at. 1932 Greenway, the mother was attacked by the white pit bull. Her daughter was knocked to the ground and received a cut on her foot over the wolf dogs. The mailman has had run-ins with these wolf dogs and has told them that they need to put them away. He's even rerouted himself to come back at different times to not encounter these dogs. Dolores Whitney at 301 Union Street has been surrounded multiple times by these dogs. She's very terrified of them. Animal Control refused to allow her to make a report without a video. The only way for her to get a video is to go down the street and allow these dogs to come after her, to basically utilize herself as human bait. Numerous of my reports were denied because I did not manage to get a video while being attacked by dogs. I didn't manage to get my phone out, get my passcode in, get my video up, and make sure it was recording. I spoke to 6 individuals on my street that have had issue with these dogs. Animal Control is failing to do anything about this. They're failing to investigate. They have reporting requirements that are just not, it's not reasonable. You cannot expect someone to get their phone out in the midst of a dog attack. That you just can't. But thank you for your time.
Ma'am,
just want to make you aware of it.
Now, you put your name and address. Could you also put your phone number?
Yes.
Appreciate that. And
I'm going to put my email. I am much easier to reach by email.
okay, we appreciate that. I'm going to ask the city manager to have appropriate folks follow up.
And we have a leash law.
You also have a nuisance, or there's 2 laws. There's a nuisance ordinance and there's a vicious and or aggressive animal ordinance. The nuisance says that they cannot be out off leash, out in the road off leash. The aggressive says they cannot even be in their yard off leash. These dogs are always in their yard off leash seconds before they're coming out after us, but they're not getting charged with being aggressive. They're only getting charged with animal at large. So nothing's really being done.
Mr. City Manager, without addressing this specific situation, just in general, I guess there's some animal incidents that should be handled by the animal control, and then depending on the incident, it could be a police matter.
Depending on the incident, yes, it could. Of course, as you all know, Pet Works is under contract with City of Kingsport to provide that animal control, and this is a conversation that we need to have based on the information that we've got tonight with them, and we'll dive a little bit more deeper into it and see where it rises from there, whether that needs to be something that's addressed through the police or if that just simply needs to be addressed through the existing ordinances that Pet Works is tasked with managing.
You can research your police reports.
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you coming forward. Are there any other citizens who wish to come forward? Yes, Mr. Clifton.
Good evening. I'm Calvin Clifton, 1108 Fiddler's Way, and I attend a lot of meetings, but I rarely make this one, and for that I'm sorry. I wish I could be here more often, but I just want to commend this board. I want to commend these gentlemen here tonight, and most of all, I want to commend the city staff to see this Ship Springs Gross Close project come to fruition. It's been a very long process, and the city staff has been phenomenal to work with, and just wanted to share those words. And you guys have got, and ladies have got a lot of great things going on. I attended the KEDB meeting this morning as well, and it's very exciting to see all the things that's going on. So just want to commend y'all.
Thank you. I was going to close out the meeting by thanking our guests for coming. Appreciate that. The board endeavors to be both citizen and business friendly, and I know that our staff is the same way, and we appreciate working with y'all, and I'm glad we got a good relationship. Are there any citizens that wish to come forward? If not, we're adjourned.
Thank you for joining us tonight for the Kingsport BMA meeting. This program has been a production of the City of Kingsport in cooperation with Milligan Productions, Milligan University, and Charter Communications. For more information, visit kingsporttn.gov.